But I don't think love ever stops in a marriage. Google white couple.
Should we see what comes up?
See what comes up. And people only realise that after they leave the relationship and they're like, wait a minute, I wasn't ever even in love with this person. And a lot of the time you're actually not.
You're in lust.
Yeah, you're in lust. I thought I was, but I wasn't. Why is that? It's because you had sex too early.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I have another great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we like to talk about all things dating and see, what it is that we can do to attract the kind of person or relationship that we want. So without further ado, please welcome Nazarin to the show. Nazarin, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. The sun is shining. It's a Sunday,
It's very hot today.
It is very warm. Did I say your name right? Is it Nazarin or Nazarene?
Nazarin.
Nazarin.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Listen, let's start with, tell us either your age or your age range, because, asking a lady about her age, and tell us one thing a guy should know about you if he wanted to take you on a date.
Okay, so I'm 22 years old, and one thing a guy should know about me is I have very traditional views, and I have a certain way that I want my life to go. And if he can't be prepared to go that way with me, then he's not the one for me.
Okay, I like that. Honest, straight to the point. We love that. So what would you say, what are the things that you would say are very traditional views that you think are kind of, what maybe the modern guy would be like, oh, okay, yeah, that is traditional. In what areas would you say that you are?
So I believe a man should lead in a relationship, because if the woman leads, it usually leads to problems. Okay. Which I've seen firsthand.
Okay. Do you think that is because it's the woman leading, or do you think that was down to that individual?
I think it's because it's the woman leading.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a relationship that's actually worked out long term where the woman was leading the man. I don't know. I can't say exactly why that is, but I've observed that it doesn't work. It's a dynamic which has a lot of flaws, and personally, I don't want my relationships to be like that.
Do you think there's, sorry, just cut you off. Do you think there's a part of, if a woman feels that she's leading, that she doesn't respect the man enough for the relationship to work? Do you think she respects him less if she's leading the relationship?
Yeah, in some ways I do. I think it's sort of degrading for a woman to take control. It's almost like she doesn't trust him enough to make the right decisions. So, which
there's a lot out there. A lot of women, I think,
there definitely is,
don't trust, and maybe some of it is valid to some degree.
I get if you've been hurt before, it could be hard to submit to another man, but you have to realize that that's, you did choose the man who hurt you.
True.
There were probably red flags which you ignored, but you still continued with that, and you ignored them for whatever reason, but that's why it didn't work out for you. So now you have a choice to, choose a man who you can trust to lead and you can trust to submit to, and trust that he won't take advantage of that. So it's all down to you, really. And I'm literally saying this firsthand, like I've been through it.
Yeah.
I was quite the opposite of how I am now.
Interesting.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to rewire my brain in many different ways to remove the indoctrination that had affected me even from school. So yeah.
Okay, and you don't have to share anything you don't want to, but what was your experience that maybe transitioned yourself to start rethinking things and approaching things in a different way when it comes to men? Like, did something specific happen with you, or?
It's actually funny because it was the beginning of lockdown, and I realised that a lot of what was happening at the time, I'm not going to say the words, but it was a load of propaganda. And it was just instilling fear into people, and I was speaking out about it, and a lot of people were really against me for doing that. And then I realised it's not really their fault. They've just been lied to, and they believe what they hear. Yeah. And so I began to look into other things that are also lies. For example, the transgender movement, trying to transition children. Yeah. puberty blockers, and I used to agree with that. I actually used to fight for that. I used to go to pride marches, and then I realised how much of what I'd learned in school was a load of rubbish as well. They literally, we had an assembly once where my teacher said in assembly, if you're not, I went to a girls' school, if you're not a feminist, then you're a bad person, because everybody should be a feminist. And then I believed it, and because, you know, what you learn in school, it kind of gives you an idea of what the world is like.
Yes.
And so I completely believed that, and I became that, and I, you know, fought for women's rights, even though we, you know, have all the rights that we need. Like that, it was just, yeah.
I guess we're all, you know, I think the definition of, or what we see as feminism today has drastically changed to what was 30, 40 years ago. Because I think by 50 years ago standards, most people would be feminists. You know, if you believe in equal rights, you do. But obviously what feminism means today, or what we see in the media, is very like, you know, it has a different face to it, I think, publicly.
I mean, we've been lied to about feminism in general, like the gender pay gap. It's not, if you actually look into it, it's not really a thing.
Actually, women actually get paid more than men now, under the age of 30. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just funny, but I looked into all forms of propaganda and lies. I realised how much I'd been lied to in my life. And yeah, I was able to finally see the truth about many things, and I rewired my brain, and yeah, I'm a completely different person now to how I was before.
I hear that. We love it. Self-growth. We love that. So what would you say in regards to men? What would you say was a propaganda or lie that you felt you were told growing up as a young woman that now you've kind of been like, I actually realised this is more true compared to what they told me? Like,
you don't need a man.
That's a lie. Do you need a man?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I do.
What do you need him for?
I need him for protection, to provide. Like, if I have children, I don't want to have to work. I used to.
Oh, but now you don't want to.
And now I'm like, what the hell? Why would I want to work? I want to raise my children. I want to instill my values into them. I want to, you know, homeschool them. I don't want them to go to school partly because of my own school experience and how I was lied to.
Sure.
Now it's even worse than when I was at school. You know, we're having children learning that gender doesn't exist, or there's like 75 different genders, and if they say no, there's two, they get expelled, they get removed from school. And it's like, I don't want my kids to have to go through that, so I'm going to homeschool them with the correct values, which, you know, are biologically correct. And morally correct. And yeah, I need a man to be able to provide for me and our family.
Yeah. So outside of family and kids, what do you want a man for?
A man is definitely physically stronger than I am. So if I was ever in a situation of danger, I would need a man to protect me.
Sure.
Just recently, actually, I was seeing my dad, and we were leaving his apartment complex, and he went outside just for a second to get his bike. And I was in the lobby, and the doors are automatic, and they opened, and a man cycled in. He didn't see my dad because he just left. He went around the corner. The man cycled in, stopped right next to me, looked me in my eyes, and tried to grab me. And it was like the nighttime. It was probably around midnight.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I freaked out. Like, I swerved him, ran outside, screamed for my dad, ran to my dad, went behind him, and the guy cycled out thinking I was just lying that my dad was there so that he wouldn't chase me. He came to me, saw my dad. My dad's like, what are you doing? And then he quickly cycled away. If my dad was not there, I don't know what I would have done.
How old were you?
It was just the other day.
Oh, this was the other day?
Yeah, it was probably around less than a month ago.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. There is an element of, you know, a woman wanting to feel safe with the man who she's with. I completely agree.
We need men.
Yeah, I think we do. Obviously, I'm biased. But yeah,
well, I'm not.
But we need women too. But yeah,
of course,
I think a lot of young women have been told that they don't need a man. And then I think it's later in life where they start to want different things. They go, actually, I do need a man. I wish I'd thought of these things before. You said about you realize some red flags before that you recognize them now, or about, you know, recognizing that you have agency over you choose. So would you say like a few red flags that you didn't see before that now you'd be like, that's a red flag straight away?
In a man?
Yeah.
Controlling in a way which is all about ego instead of actually caring about me.
Yes. Can we give us an example where one, like a scenario where one is very much him controlling out of ego and the other one is, oh, he's trying to control the frame to care about you?
You can't see your friends.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about clubbing.
Yeah,
I'm talking about going to the park to see friends.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a bit much.
Or getting, you know, protective when you go and see your family.
They're protective over you going to see your family?
Yeah, protective over me because of my family. Like, but it's not protection. It was sort of framed as protection, but it was actually... Yeah. I don't even know. I guess he was just self-conscious and he didn't want me to spend time away from him.
Wow,
but
that's a lot.
It's really weird, yeah.
That's a lot. I even think it's good when you have space apart.
Of course.
I think it's good. That,
distance makes the heart grow fonder.
100%. What is it? Esther Perel says, fire needs air to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think it's a good thing in that sense. That's a bit much.
It is a bit much.
What would you say is like the kind of leading or control sounds like a very bad word, so I can't think of another one, but holding frame, what's the positive way that you would like a man to do that you like a man doing that, you know?
So if I was to go clubbing, for example, it doesn't benefit me in any way. It means I'd be drinking.
Well, it might get some attention. People like
attention. It means, exactly. The wrong kind of attention, though.
Yeah.
And if he was to be able to see that, because my intentions might not even be that. You know, my intentions could be just, you know, have a good time with my friends.
Yes.
And dance.
Yeah.
Which is what girls actually, well, I can't say all girls, but a lot of girls do actually go to clubs just for that reason.
Question on that, sorry to cut you off. I believe that. I genuinely believe that. If they had the option to go to like an all girls club where there are no guys there, but it's music, they can buy drinks with their friends, what percentage of women do you think would actually choose that over going to like a regular club where there might be some unwanted attention, but maybe guys could also buy you drinks as well? Do you know what I mean?
That's a really hard question. I don't know the percentage. My guess would be probably maybe 60% would go to an all girls.
Okay.
The other 40,
I hear that.
maybe not.
Yeah.
I would choose to if I had the option to.
Yeah.
The only all-girl clubs now, though, are lesbian clubs.
Maybe you still might get the kind of attention that
I
maybe
used
you
to
don't.
go there.
To be fair, I have quite a few female friends. They'll go to gay clubs.
Yeah.
That's quite often. And obviously, like, you know, I'm an actor in my theatre industry. Like, gay clubs is where most people go.
I used to.
So, oh really? So would you not just go to gay clubs anyway then with your girlfriends? Or?
No, I wouldn't go to clubs at all anymore.
Yeah.
I've completely changed. Like, everything about me is just so different. My ideal life would be living on a farm, having my own animals.
Yeah.
You know, being able to, you know, slaughter and eat my own animals when I needed to. Basically, I want to be self-sufficient.
Yes.
I don't want to have to rely on, you know, the government for anything because they're quite corrupt.
Does that include going to supermarkets? You like relying on the government?
It does, yeah. Because, you know,
what if
that's...
it was independent?
I mean, independent, is in like farmers markets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I go to farmers markets.
Okay.
Because you're supporting the farmers directly.
Yes.
And you're also building connections with them. So if anything was to happen one day, you'd have people... I'm talking about rations, which seems to be our future.
Yeah. Who knows, man? This is a crazy world.
Yeah, so I would have people, farmers, who would be able to provide me with food, milk, eggs, you know, if that did happen, because I've built those connections well in advance now.
Yes.
And I support them. and they would support me in the future.
Yeah.
But the ideal for me would be to be able to provide everything myself.
Yeah.
Grow my own food, have like a well with water.
I was literally about to say, what about the water? Like taps,
A
baths,
well.
everything. Wow. Like you proper want to almost kind of very much off grid.
Off-grid, traditional.
There are places in the world where you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like, I mean, I don't know offhand. I don't know why Amazon rainforest just comes to mind immediately. I don't know why.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. It'd be very hot though. It's very humid.
There's like water you can cool down in.
That's very true. Very true. Kind of on that. So one thing I wanted to ask you was, I think I saw on your Insta story where,
Okay.
you said
where's this going?
No, I love it. It's kind of basically what you said, but you're like, if you're in my DMs and you can't kill an animal to feed our family in life or death, you're not interested.
I'm not interested.
That you're not interested in a guy if he's in your DMs and he can't kill an animal for your.
I did say that.
You did. Is that legit
I mean
to the
that
letter?
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be hard to find that out here, I think.
Would you be able to do it?
I could, but then my family Nigerian, so I used to go to Nigeria like twice a year all the time. When we had family parties, King, my producer, he's Nigerian, he'll know, like they'll slaughter the cow like 2 hours before the meal and everything like that. But I think in the West, for most people, like they're not, I know everyone's used to getting their chicken from Tesco Express.
Yeah. This is why I did tell you that's what a man needs to know about me. If you can't if you can't see yourself living that kind of life, it's not going to work. Yeah. Because, a man needs to provide, and if that means in times of need killing an animal, you got to do it for your family, right? What would a man do if we were on rations and they completely like cut out meat from our diets because of global warming, for example? Let's say. Yeah. What's a man who can't kill an animal going to do? It's true. Queue up for rations?
I hear that. I do understand what you're saying. I think human beings were very good at adapting to our environments. Not everyone can, but I think we are in general. So if this apocalyptic world happened, right, within 3 to 5 years, okay, some people might not make it, but if the majority of people were alive, they would have quickly learned how to do it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the main reason people don't do that now is because they don't have to. Yeah. But obviously, if they were like put in a situation where it was you learn to do this or you die, 90% of people would do that.
We'll see. I don't know about men nowadays.
Yeah, maybe certain men.
I feel like women could do it more than men could.
Listen.
Nowadays, yeah.
Maybe they could. It's funny because I've seen this clip where it's like, I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I'm just looking for it, aren't I?
Just do it.
Where you have a woman who's maybe like a very strong feminist, whatever, and she's like, yeah, I'll do anything. And then the building is on fire, and then suddenly she's this woman who needs to be saved by a strong man. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
The tables might turn.
They might turn.
We have to wait and see.
I know. Is there anything you'd like to ask, or something you'd like for us to discuss that might interest you around dating or men or anything?
Let's talk about same-sex relationships.
Ooh, okay.
So, for example, if two women were together, what would be missing in your opinion?
It depends what you want.
In your opinion?
Well, if they want a child, then they obviously need like a sperm donor, don't they? Like they can't have kids, just those two.
No, although apparently they are working on a way where you can have a child with 2 eggs instead of
I've heard instead of a sperm. I mean, I don't know the science behind that. If that's possible, then fine.
Not yet, but
for the time being they need a sperm donor.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
it's really actually quite scary.
Technology is scary.
Can you imagine, like, there could be side effects and stuff that we won't see till years to come.
100%.
Yeah, they're gonna experiment with babies and see, just for their own weird gain.
Well, I mean, like, even genetic engineering is a lot closer than we realise.
Clones!
I know, you could be a clone. I could be a clone right now. Yeah. I could be a clone right now. Why? Do you think something's missing? Like, what did you mean by that question?
No, yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking from a man's view, what would you say is missing from that relationship in terms of what a man could bring?
I see what you're saying.
Because I know what would be missing because I can put myself in that situation.
Okay, so go on. What do you think would be missing?
It's my question.
Well, it depends what you're meaning. I think if you're talking about having like the masculine and feminine, which I completely understand, even in same-sex relationships, one has a more masculine core and one has a more feminine core. That's why it works. So whether you have a more masculine core isn't necessarily tied to what sex you are, though it is the case that most men have a more masculine core, most women have a more feminine core. But that's where the polarity is. You know, you can't have sexual chemistry without the polarity. You know, if you have two, you know, very feminine men or two very masculine women, it doesn't work. That's why masculine men and masculine women don't go together, and feminine men and feminine women don't go together. So if you're saying in that sense, in a same-sex relationship, that's not missing because one of them will very much likely have a more masculine core, the other one will have a more feminine core, and that's why it works.
Not always,
but I think relationships kind of default do start that way. I think relationships that have polarity, you know, I would say.
Okay.
What do you think?
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah?
I agree.
Okay.
I also think that if a thief was to break into the house, what would happen? You'd have two women.
And they'd call the police?
You'd call the police, and how long would they have to wait for that?
I know. They have to barge the door. It's true. So let me ask you then, what would you say about in a man-man relationship? What would you think is missing, if anything's missing to you?
Well, yeah, it's hard to say because a lot of the time in gay relationships, you know, there is some sort of a feminine energy, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be due to probably hormone level issues.
Interesting. Between the men? I can see that between women because women can fluctuate throughout the month.
Men too. Not enough testosterone, which could be due to less exercise, less meat, because we're being told that meat causes, or consuming meat causes global warming, so everyone's now scared and going vegan.
True. I guess that's to do with the individual as opposed to what sexuality that they are.
I think it has a massive effect. I think a lack of testosterone would cause you to act more and feel more like feminine, and then go for someone who is masculine, which we're seeing now. But then the person who's
masculine will probably have a stronger level of testosterone in their system, no? That's probably why they're more masculine.
But if they're going for a man, it won't be as much. It's true.
I don't know.
It's definitely hormone levels, and women have a lot more testosterone now than they used to. Like this is a scientific fact.
I actually don't know. Do they?
Yeah, I don't know the exact stats, but I was reading. I did know them at one point, but women's testosterone levels are massive.
Yeah.
And men's estrogen levels and lack of testosterone is a thing.
Yeah.
Like it
is a thing.
So I would say that's having a massive effect on relationships.
Do you think that you would want a man who would quote unquote have a high level of testosterone for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the amount of testosterone men need today is the same to what they needed, say, 100 years ago?
No, not the same, because obviously 100 years ago, yeah.
Do you think it's the same?
Yeah. I'm thinking if you're...
Yeah, maybe 1,000 years ago.
Like Stone Age times?
Stone Age times.
Okay.
Yeah. They're living off-grid like how you want to.
They would have needed more testosterone back then due to threats from animals, for example, predators who... would come to their camps and try to attack them. They also had to hunt massive animals down. So they had to provide and protect more than they do now.
Very true.
Admittedly.
Yes.
However, we haven't got enough testosterone
what?
In men, if we're talking about the levels at the moment. Like, we still need more than we have. There are still many threats out there.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how many current men could easily be drafted for the war tomorrow.
No. exactly.
I think a lot would struggle.
And what's coming soon?
Keep saying what's coming soon. What's
According-
coming? What do you know, Nazarin? What do you know? Tell us. What do you know?
Well, I'm just talking about the threats from the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. You know, they are threatening us with a great reset, which is what they're saying. That's what they're calling it.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
or
about this.
otherwise known as Agenda 2030, where they'll try to completely transform our lives and turn us into a communist world, not just country world.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. That doesn't surprise me because we've evolved to the point where the people in power, whoever that is, it is easier for them to control us because we're so reliant on technology, which I guess is why you kind of want to live off grid.
Yeah,
Right.
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
What effect do you feel technology has on relationships?
So I think on the surface level, we're exposed to way more people than ever before. We have way more perceived options. We think we have way more perceived options than ever before. We do have more options. I think, you know, it exaggerates the grass is always greener. You know, like, oh, I have someone who I'm with, who I care about, who I love, who loves and respects me. This person's looking pretty good, you know. So way more temptation for men and for women. So on the surface level, I would say that. Going a bit deeper, we compare ourselves to, oh, so-and-so's boyfriend does that for her. I don't get that. My guy's trash. Equally, a guy might be like, oh, well, so-and-so girlfriend looks like this. My girl's not working to look like this. That's like, you know, that's not good enough. So comparison is the thief of joy. It's easier to compare. In terms of relationships, I think, and because of, you know, the amount of options, we are more easily to dismiss people based on things that maybe don't really matter. Because, you know, if a girl goes on a date with a guy and she's like, oh, he's 5'10", and I only date guys who are 6'1" and above, and she's got 50 other matches on her phone, the guy sitting across the table from her could actually be a really great match for her, but because of this metric, you know, she just says ta-ta.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you
Seeing
think?
it all the time. No, I agree with that. That's definitely a big thing which is causing many issues in relationships. I think it's a big reason why marriages aren't lasting as long either.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there was a shift as soon as technology became a big thing. Marriages began to end at a much faster rate.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have less couples lasting till, you know, they die, which is so sad. I also think there is an algorithm, especially like Google. They do control what you see.
Of course.
They completely censor the truth.
Yeah, well, yeah, they show you what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, but we do that. Like, we only show on social media what we want people to see.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of participates in that.
True. But I think that could be because of the censorship of one side of things usually on Google and other search engines. For example.
No, you mean like what photos you post on Instagram is because of Google's algorithm?
Not just Google, but many things. Mainstream media.
Yeah.
You know, the news, the radio, Love Island. You know, they put out what they want you to see.
Yeah, very true.
And so you are inherently influenced by that.
I agree. That's true.
Yeah. And then because, I mean, look what happened with Love Island. It became such a big thing. Do you know how many people sit in their homes watching it every time it comes on? Like, it's crazy.
I know.
It's hard to find anyone who doesn't. Even like old people now watch it.
Well, it's just entertaining. Well, people have always wanted to be entertained. It's just another way to be entertained.
But then it instills values in you without you even knowing about it, which are
I think that's true. They don't realise how heavily influenced they are. Would you ever go on Love Island?
Never.
I've been asked to go on before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you?
No, I'm an actor, so I wouldn't.
There you go.
I wouldn't.
You've got some values then.
Oh, I like to think I've got some values. No,
But even if you Google white couple, for example, this is just an example.
Yeah.
Try it now.
You want to Google white couple?
Google white couple.
Should we see what comes up?
See what comes up.
Are you going to come up?
It won't be me, no.
I love that. Okay, let me do white couple. Okay, what do you... I'm going to go into images.
Yeah.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
There's
That's what I'm
nothing.
saying.
Let me see. Oh, that's
What?
weird. Because when I
What did you
did it
expect?
yesterday,
Yeah.
it wasn't white couples that were coming up. It was black couples.
Was it?
Yeah. Which is like...
These are definitely white couples here.
Yeah, that's very weird.
Oh, there's one black couple if you scroll down far enough.
No, that's weird because I literally tried it yesterday. But...
Okay. But go on.
What phone do you have?
Samsung?
Okay, that could be why. Maybe it's just
Are you-
iPhones then.
Oh, you're an Apple.
Yeah.
Mate, you're plugged into the biggest tech devil in the world.
I know, but one day I'm not going to have a phone at all.
Wow. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about Instagram?
I'm not going to use Instagram.
I know.
I'm going to live my own life. But that's... I mean, it didn't happen on your phone, but I know it happens on iPhones, and it's just one example of how Google want you to see a certain, narrative where, I remember during lockdown, if you typed in certain things, I'm not going to say the words because I don't want you to get censored.
Thank you.
But if you typed in certain things, the opposite would come up.
So can you tell me what would come up?
Okay, I'm going to try and say it in a way which won't get you in trouble.
Go for it.
If you typed in risks and harms of the
Something.
injection,
Right.
all of the benefits would come up instead, and there'd be no risks.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Even though now we know
There's risks.
there are 8 pages of risks involved,
I hear what you're saying.
according to the companies themselves. That's just one example. There are many other things I typed in as well, not just about that
Yeah.
time.
I hear that.
There are many other things as well, and it's just the opposite came up. So it kind of shows that they want you to have their view on everything.
I agree.
And how many people go to Google for answers about everything?
You're absolutely right.
It's dangerous.
You're absolutely right. I think that we have to pretend that these big organizations and search engines aren't run by human beings. And as human beings, we obviously put out what we believe. And this goes back to what I was saying on Instagram. If you're putting out a certain message on Instagram, you're putting that out there because you want other people to see it, and you want other people to start aligning with your views. If you had your own search engine company and you had certain things, if people searched risk of blah blah blah, you would show all the risks. Maybe even if people search benefits of blah blah blah, you might say these are some of the benefits, but also these are some of the risks. So I think we have this danger of thinking that things like Google and Twitter and stuff, while it likes to present itself to be completely impartial and this utopia kind of universal search engine, they're not, because they're created by human beings, and no human being is impartial. I don't believe it.
No.
I think every human being is biased in some ways, and that's always going to reflect in the things that we create, always.
For sure. But then, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When yeah, of course. But when people completely depend on one thing for all of their information, it gets so dangerous. And
so is that a problem with Google, or is that a problem with people?
both. I think people aren't clever enough nowadays to be able to find information for themselves and do their own research. They depend on other people to do research for them.
But then I say that's dependent on the people then. Like, if you're not
but the
willing to put in
majority,
the
for
grind.
sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
For sure.
That's definitely fair to say.
It's sad.
Yeah. Well,
Which
that's why we're
comes
here.
back to why I need a man who has a brain and who can actually protect me from things by doing research himself.
So what would you... I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you say... Would you say a man only has a brain if he thinks the same way you do? Because what if he, he's like, okay, well, for my research, I genuinely believe that the anti-bug thing that we're talking about is actually beneficial. Would you be like, oh, well, clearly you're dumb because it's not? Or would you be like,
no.
I just disagree with you?
I'm open-minded and I'm willing to change my mind about everything. the amount of research I've done on that subject, as well as many other subjects,
you're like, I don't know how
I
they
can't
could do
change
that.
my mind because it's not possible.
I hear that.
I've completely disproven many things.
I hear
You know
that.
what I mean? But I'd be completely willing to have a, conversation about it. And then, I need a man who's also open-minded as well.
100%.
Because I'm very open-minded myself.
I hear that.
And so if we can have a discussion about it and, understand each other's viewpoints, he may be willing to, change his mind
Very
about
true.
things.
Very
and I'm
true.
very willing to change my mind if you can change it.
Yeah, 100%. I
But
think
I need-
remaining open is important.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just need evidence.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Okay. I'm going to chuck you back to some guys dating. How would you describe dating today in 3 words?
3 words.
Yeah.
Wow. Misguided,
Mm-hmm.
immature, sad.
I hear that. Are you saying this the landscape, or is this for your experience?
No, not really my experience, just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my experience too
course.
would have contributed to that, but yeah,
Yeah.
in general.
Would you say you know how to approach dating now in a way that is fulfilling for you?
Completely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are some of the guidelines you follow for yourself that if women were looking for what you're looking for, you'd advise them to as well?
Don't have sex.
Just ever?
No.
Ever?
Till marriage.
So wait till marriage.
Absolutely.
What if a man doesn't want to get married?
I mean, I understand why a man wouldn't want to get married in the eyes of the law, because
Yes.
I don't want to either. I don't believe the
Interesting.
government should have any part in a marriage between 2 people and God.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
if I am going to get married eventually. When I get married,
Yes.
I will not have a government overseen marriage.
You have a traditional one, but maybe not a legal one.
Traditional one, exactly.
I hear that.
Just between us and God. And, a priest as well.
Yes. I hear that. Do you find that, like I say, you don't have to share anything you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, somebody with having that principle for themselves is very rare in today's dating world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you find that's made it difficult for you to meet men, go out with men, date certain guys, because we live in sexually liberalized times where guys with experience sleeping on the first date even, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, how do you feel that's affected how you date, or the guys that maybe are available to you?
I think it's a good thing, because the guys who don't want to wait filtered themselves out for me.
100%.
And so I don't even have to worry anymore, because I know that the right man for me will happily wait and will actually respect the fact that I respect myself enough to wait until I know that I'm secure with one man, and I'll have that one man forever.
I hear that. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Let's say you meet a guy and he has a level of connection with you that he goes, I think you're it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the physical intimacy is very important to men.
Mm-hmm.
So what if, for example, let's say, he's not a virgin, he's had other sexual, experiences.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say if he said to you, okay, I'm happy to wait with you, but until we get married, I'm going to get my physical needs met elsewhere? Would you accept that?
Yeah.
So you want him to be exclusive to you?
Yeah, because I don't believe that. Okay, how do I put this? I don't believe that waiting till marriage is about just the woman. I believe it's also about the man. I believe it's about strengthening the couple together, because instead of thinking about sex first, you think about each other and, you know, your hearts, and how you can communicate through problems. You actually learn so many valuable lessons if you do that. And I know this, I've spoken to people who've actually done the same thing, and they weren't virgins. They both weren't virgins, but they waited. When they met each other, they decided to wait, and it's made their communication so much better in their marriage. You know, they're so happy. They're the happiest couples I know, and they're lasting a very long time as well. So it shows that waiting till marriage to have sex really does actually lengthen marriages. I think there are some stats on that too. I've read about it. I don't know the stats. I wish I knew them. I should have brought a notepad. But it does definitely help, because when you have problems, you don't rely on sex. You actually are able to communicate and to work them out through talking.
I agree.
Would you say that in relationships, couples just have sex to get over their problems?
I think they can. I'm not going to pretend that doesn't happen, but I think women need love to have sex, and men need sex to feel loved. So in a situation where he is not having any physical intimacy anywhere, but you are getting all of his emotional and time and his investment, you as the woman, you're going to feel loved. He's not going to feel the same way. He's not going to feel loved as much as you do.
I disagree.
Really?
Some men, or most
Maybe.
men. Most men, actually. What you're saying applies to most men, but not all men.
No, not all men. I think it is rare though. I think
that's
it's
what
rare.
I want.
100%. I get that. Yeah, I think.
I know.
Because I think a guy can ask, "Oh, why don't you want to have that with me?"
I completely understand what you're saying, because I've been through it.
I'm sure you have.
I've had this. I've had to end relationships because they didn't want to wait. So I completely understand.
I do have to share this. Is it sex completely? Like, is there anything sexual, basically, that you're like, nah?
What do you mean?
Anything sexual past kissing.
Yeah.
You're like,
anything
has to wait till
Anything.
marriage.
But
right.
I would say when a man has God at the forefront of everything, and who understands why biblically you should wait till marriage, because God's trying to protect you from being hurt.
Yes.
And when you both understand that together, it works.
I understand
and you can make that commitment to each other. It's beautiful. It really is. And it's so special when you actually do get married and you can share that together after such a long time of being without it together.
I have a friend, a really good friend of mine. I might have to hook you guys up because he's exactly the same. Are you Jewish?
No.
Okay, he's Jewish. She doesn't have to be Jewish.
Christian, but...
He's
It's God,
he's
right?
Christian. He's Christian and Jewish. Yeah.
God is God, so...
Very true. Henok, if you're listening to this... if you're listening or watching this, Henok, drop me a line. I'm going to forward you her details because you guys actually might be a match made in heaven.
Oh my God.
And he's a very good looking guy. I think you'd be very pleased. Interesting. All right. Is there anything you want to ask me about guys? Is there something about men that you don't understand?
Can't really think of anything. Not that I understand men completely.
No, of course.
Of course I don't.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a man.
Men don't even.
Yeah. But no. Everything I'm thinking of, I can actually answer myself.
Yeah. What's the most difficult conversation you think most people have when dating between men and women today? And not when they're in a relationship, I mean when they're in the dating phase. Like, what do you think is the most difficult conversation they have?
Very good question. I can speak from my own experience, and that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, of course.
Sex and how long you should wait. Because nowadays we're doing everything the opposite way to how it should be.
Yep.
It should be, you meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, and then you have sex and you share that together. Nowadays we're doing, you have sex on the first day you meet them, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
then you fall in love later on down the line, but because you only fall in love because of the sex, because it clouds your mind. It makes you, especially for
I think
a
women it
woman,
clouds their mind. I think men it.
But sometimes men too.
Yeah, it can. Yeah,
It does.
if it's good actually, then yeah, it can. Yeah, that's true.
And so your mind's clouded. You can't think coherently because all you're thinking about is that. And so you feel that you are in love, and a lot of the time you're actually not.
You're in lust.
You're in lust. And people only realise that after they leave the relationship, and they're like, wait a minute, I wasn't ever even in love with this person. I thought I was, but I wasn't. Why is that? It's because you had sex too early.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I think there is a middle ground though, because it sounds like you're like, okay, one, it's like you have the emotional connection and you can only get that if you don't have sex, and the other side, it's like, oh, if you have sex, then you're all about that. I do think there is a middle ground where you can have the emotional intimacy as well as the physical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the physical can enhance the emotional.
It can do.
I think generally it does for the women a lot of the time as well, actually.
What does for women?
I think the physical intimacy enhances their emotional bond with the guy.
Completely.
You don't have to answer this, but I have to ask this now. So then, are you a virgin or no?
No.
Okay. So,
I'm not.
So what would you say to guys who are like, okay, but you had sex with these other guys before? Does that mean you don't like me as much? Does that mean you're not in love with me as much as you were with them? Like, what would you say to them?
If a man wasn't able to understand that I didn't always believe in God, and now I do, and I've changed everything about myself since making that transition to completely devoting my life to God. If a man can't understand that it's not about him, it's about me and God, then it's not going to work.
I hear that.
I need a man who understands that. And I'm not asking the man to be a virgin either.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's not like I think that he should be a virgin and I can just pretend I am. No. I don't pretend, I'm honest. But I also made a promise to God because it felt right to me that I would never have sex again until I get married, and then because I realized how wrong I was, and I can admit when I'm wrong. I put my hands up. I was wrong. I used to actually believe in women empowerment through having sex. It doesn't empower you. Sex with strangers does not empower you. I've never had sex with a stranger myself, but I used to be fully for women who do and argue for them and be like, oh, they're allowed to do what they want to. It's their body, their choice. No, it is their body, it is their choice, but it doesn't empower them. It makes them feel like shit.
Yeah, I think long term it does. I think
as much as they pretend it doesn't, it does.
Yeah, I think there is an element where some women do go through a phase where they want to just explore. But I think long term, at least from what I've seen, long term, no, it doesn't make them happy. Doing that long term, I don't think it does. So you've kind of said, you've expressed the kind of man you want, and I completely respect that. Do you think it's going to be? Do you care if he's a quote unquote high quality, high value man, or is the religious, more understanding part more important for you, that you're willing to compromise on what society would call a high value man in terms of these metrics? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, are you willing to essentially compromise on that for the sake of having a man who has the same values as you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a man who believes in God, who wants to live a traditional life, who wants what I want, who wants a farm, and who can provide at least that for me, even if it's just like his family owns some land. Yeah. I don't really care how much he earns, because as long as we can have enough to buy seeds, to buy animals, and then, live off our land and believe in God together and, worship him together, that is so much more important to me than having a man who, earns millions of pounds.
Well, not even millions, like just, someone who earns above average. Let's say, would you take a guy who's an average Joe but has the same values as you do? Yeah. I hear that. That's right. That is open-minded.
I'd rather have a man who's godly than a man who isn't godly but has money.
I hear that. I respect that. Let me ask you something else. Oh yeah. I think I saw this on your Instagram.
Oh gosh.
You're like, people. Yeah, I always do my research. People keep asking you if you're single or not, and you never answer. Do you say that?
I think so. Can't remember when.
Someone asked you now, are you single?
Did you not read that properly?
I did, but I'm asking now.
Um,
You don't have to answer, but I'm going to ask.
I think it should be a private thing. If I wasn't
Nice.
single,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say, because when you talk about things that make you happy, when you talk about something so beautiful and so private publicly, people wish bad on you.
Some people do, not everyone.
Of course, not everybody, and I know you wouldn't.
No, yeah.
But people out there do.
Yeah.
Some people.
But that's with everything you're going to do, though.
Of course.
There's always going to be a small minority.
Which is why I don't really speak about things that make me super happy. In case anyone tries to, I believe that there are people who practice witchcraft and stuff.
Sure.
And whether that works or not, it's all of the evil intentions that are put out there towards you. That's a scary thing for me.
Yeah.
And if I was to have someone who makes me so happy and who I know is the one, I wouldn't want everyone online to know, because I don't know most of the people who follow me.
I understand that.
Do you know what I mean?
That. I do.
So it's not like I'm
saying.
trying to hide. I might be single and I might be in a relationship.
Yes. Yeah, you're like, oh, anybody who does have ill intentions wants to put bad omens, you don't want to give them the chance to
ruin anything for me.
All right, well, Henok, I'll try and find out when the cameras aren't rolling if she's single, and if she is, I'll let you know, bro.
I can tell you.
I tried.
I can tell you off camera.
Exclusive. Sorry, people. It's interesting. What do you think that guys get wrong about women today?
Do guys get wrong? I think they look for women who look physically appealing.
They always have, though.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's still a thing nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's quite heavily focused on, again, due to algorithms, due to...
I think it's just technology, social media.
Yeah.
I think even more so... I think for women, I feel like, you correct me if I'm wrong, that men's appearance have never mattered more to women now.
I agree. Yeah, it is both ways.
Yeah.
I would say mostly men towards women, because
I think it matters more.
just from what I've seen.
I would agree with you. No, I do
offense
think it does.
to anyone.
I think it has. I think it does. And I think looks for men has always mattered more than what looks do for women.
Yeah.
But I think that's because women look for way more things. So it's...
But I'm saying they would rather have a woman who looks good, but who doesn't use their brain, who doesn't really have, values which are important.
Congruent to what they do.
Exactly. Who don't have the same life plans as they do. Like, as long as they look good, that's all that matters to a lot of men out there.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it too. I think that's... There's no nice ways to put this. I think that is for a lot of guys, if they've never been with what they would say is like a very attractive woman, the first one that comes along, they're like, this has never happened before. I'll do whatever it takes. I think when a man has got to a point where he is used to dating very attractive women, that's when he starts to prioritize those other qualities, because it's like her looks aren't... One, he's learned that her looks aren't the be-all, end-all. But also, even though that may still be a quote-unquote requirement for him, it's like, okay, well, that's not going to sustain it. And also, you know, we always grow accustomed to our environment. You know, when you buy a new car, you're driving around in it, you're like, oh my gosh, I fancy a new car, I freaking love it. After 6 months, like, it's just your car. It's not that you don't want it.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know, you acclimatize to whatever it is you have. So I think it's men who have had experience. I think when men have had experience with dealing with a lot of very attractive women, I think that's when they really do prioritize those other qualities. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Thank you.
But then don't make those mistakes.
I know it's.
You're asking me what mistakes they make. That's
Well, I
one.
think there's something they get wrong. Yeah, it's true, but I almost think they kind of have to. It's kind of like, it's easy to say the top of the mountain isn't all that great when you're up there, but someone who's never been up there is going to still be like, I want to get up there to see for myself. Do you know what I mean?
I get that, but I think sometimes it's cleverer to watch other men's mistakes and then
I agree.
learn from
Which is
that
why a lot
before
of
you
men
make
don't want
the
to get married.
mistakes. No, yeah, and I
Do you know
get
what I
it.
mean?
I completely get it, but don't get married for the government. That way you're not in danger.
Very true.
Get married for God.
Yes.
If you are to get married, because that's what marriage is for.
Yes.
And then you don't have to worry about your money being stolen from you because there's no
Or your kids.
agreement, or your kids, because there's no agreement written down, so you're okay.
I hear that. I was having this discussion with King before you came. Do you think that a woman can love a man unconditionally?
My mind's quite extreme, and all I'm thinking about is if he was to kill a family member of hers, in which case, no. But if that wasn't to happen,
outside of the extremes of, so he didn't rape anyone, he didn't kill anyone,
yeah,
just like, because people have tumultuous times in their relationships, in their marriages. The main reason people get divorced isn't because he killed her mum.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
So you're talking about just general.
For the masses,
Yeah.
yes. Outside of that, do you think a woman can love a man unconditionally?
Yeah,
You think she can?
I do. It's in his control. If he treats her with respect at all times, if he, it's okay to like have arguments and, tell her, no, you can't do this because I feel like it's the right decision. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about not taking advantage of her trust.
Yeah.
Always providing her with what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And doing your best to fulfill her in as many ways as you can. Obviously, it works both ways as well.
Sure. Is it possible that, because people change over time, and is it possible that what he was able to give to her in the beginning was what she needed then, but then 5 years into it, what she desires has changed? But
we're not talking about desire. We're talking about need. So I'm saying,
yeah,
of course, desires, yeah, it's nice if they're provided, but you don't need them. They're not necessary.
I see what you're saying.
So as long as he provides what she needs, I'm talking about food, water.
Okay. So as long as he provides her security.
Exactly.
You think that a woman can love him unconditionally?
Yeah. And not just that. There's many other aspects to it, but. Yeah.
I don't think they can.
Waiting till marriage has a big effect on this too, by the way.
Maybe. I see how that could be, for sure.
I've seen it personally. I've seen.
Well, we don't know. They have to be dead to know until it works, don't we?
Well, I've seen couples who, died in love still.
Yeah, and.
So of course it's possible. We've seen it.
But I think the reason they're together isn't because they love each other unconditionally, but because they continue to choose each other even when they didn't want to.
That's unconditional love. There's still that underlying love which kept them together.
Maybe it is.
I don't think they would have fallen out of love. I think it's, there are massive problems in marriage, of course. It's about how you face them together. I think keeping God at the forefront of a marriage is also really important in that, because it does. When you go to God and the Bible or whatever religious book you have for advice in terms of tumultuous marriages, it definitely gives you all the answers, and it causes you to be able to work through those problems.
Yeah. I guess kind of what you said though is kind of not unconditional, because you're like, so long as he continues to fulfill her needs. So I guess if he didn't fulfill her needs, then she wouldn't love him. and she wouldn't choose him. So that's not really unconditional, because you provided conditions for which her love is going to be given. Unconditional is, okay,
True.
I love you unconditionally. Even if you stop to fulfill my needs, I will still love you and choose
It
you.
depends what the situation is, because if he has no choice but to stop,
Let's say not that maybe he just chooses not to, not because he doesn't have a choice, but for whatever reason he chooses that he doesn't want to do that anymore.
I guess not then.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say.
But a man can't love a woman unconditionally either.
I think that there is a level of unconditional love a man will have for a woman if she is the mother of his children. I don't think it works the same way the other way around, though.
Not unconditional.
I do.
Why?
I've never, just because I've never seen it publicly, whatever, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. There might be exceptions to the rule. But even if a man doesn't like a woman, if she is the mother of his children, there's still a level of love for her to almost still protect her to some degree because she is the mother of his kids. Like, I've never...
Is it love, though, or is it an urge to protect the mother of his kids?
It's that.
So it's not love?
Is that not love?
Mm-mm. It's like a necessity.
It's not a necessity, though. He doesn't have to do it.
If he feels he has to.
I think there's always been an element of men sacrificing for women throughout history.
Yeah.
I think that's almost how men have shown their love, to sacrifice for the woman.
If you are in love, then yeah. But I think there's men out there who would die to protect a random woman he doesn't even know. That's not love. That's just, I feel like I need to because I'm a man and I want to protect this woman. I think that has more to do with women being able to actually bring life into the world. He knows that she is more important than he is in terms of the world's population.
There's a level of value that men see in women, yes, which is why they'll die to protect it. Yeah.
So is that love or is that...
But I think a man dying for a woman he doesn't know because he feels it's his duty to, and a man dying for the mother of his children because she's the mother of his children, I think that's different.
But
the action is the same, but the incentive is different.
He could hate her, but he'd still do it, no?
I think he still loves her because she's the mother of his kids. There is a love there.
I don't
because
think
he
it's
loves
love.
his children.
I don't think it's love.
But I don't think women do the same the other way around, which is why I'm like, even then.
Yeah, there is a difference for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I think it's a duty more than love.
Maybe it is a duty. Maybe.
Interesting.
Is duty love? Do you think love is duty?
It can be if you're in love with the person.
Do you feel like you'd have a duty to your husband to fulfill certain things?
Yeah.
Is that love?
If I was in love with him, then yeah.
What if you weren't in love with him? But you chose to do it because that was the promise that you made.
I can't imagine not being in love with my husband.
You don't believe that you could ever fall out of love with your husband?
Not if you put God at the forefront of everything together, and if you both have the exact same level of importance when it comes to God.
I think I'm not trying to offend you. I think that's a naive approach.
Okay, maybe I'm naive, but it's happening for me.
Yeah, I hear that.
I
hear that. I think people can fall out of love when they've been together a certain amount of time, but that doesn't mean they stop choosing each other. And I think that is the promise that we make to God. Because the love is the emotional. When we say love, I'm talking, and maybe we're talking about two different times of love or types of love. Love is the feeling and emotional connection you have to someone, but that can go in ebbs and flows, especially if you're going to be together 50 years plus. But you still choose the person despite that.
Yeah,
I think that's what marriage means.
But I don't think love ever stops in a marriage. I mean, in a godly marriage.
Right.
I don't think it ever stops. I don't think it ever completely goes away. I think it's always there, even when there's massive problems and issues you're facing together. I think the love is still underlying in the marriage, and then it just comes back out when you overcome things together.
Maybe, but this is what I was saying about duty. Because you can be like, I don't feel like I love this person, but I have a duty to them. And that's why I asked you, is duty love? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there'll be days where you don't want to do things for your husband, and you don't want to do that because of how you feel towards him emotionally. But you're like, I'm your wife and I made a promise to you and to God, so I will do those things because it's my duty to.
Yeah, but if you don't feel like doing something, it doesn't mean you fall out of love.
I know, but I'm just saying you could maybe not want to do those things because you have fallen out of love.
It's not going to happen for me, so I can't speak about it.
I hear that. Listen, I obviously would wish that didn't happen to anyone.
I know.
think it's something that
Yeah.
to think about and be, okay, if this ever happened, how would I handle this situation to make it best moving forward? You know, I think that's important
If
for
we
us all to think
faced
about.
problems, I would still do what I need to do in a marriage.
I hear that.
But I don't feel that I would fall out of love with my husband after everything that we would have been through.
Yeah. I hear that.
That's just me personally. I know that most people probably don't think that way or feel that way. And yeah, for a lot of people, it's probably a naive way of thinking and a fairy tale kind of.
Yeah, I think the only naive part, I think, was you thinking that this would never happen. And I think
Of course,
even
it's
when
not
it may
impossible.
not happen, I think it's good to be like, if I'm put in this environment or situation where this does, I know how I'm going to handle it. You know, it's like saying, oh, I'll never be cheated on. Well, you don't know that. You might be. This person could cheat on you, but that's not what you stress about. You stress, okay, if it does, how do I handle the situation?
Well, yeah, cheating's different because obviously for a man, if a man cheats on a woman, it doesn't mean that he's fallen out of love.
No.
And I don't think I would fall out of love with him if he was to do that to me.
Sure.
So again, for me, it wouldn't be falling out of love. And if we had children together, especially,
Yes.
I'd have to find a way to work through that, because when you go through a divorce, when you have children together, it causes issues for your children without you even thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't ever want that to happen.
I hear that.
Even if I have to wait till they're 18, like even if I'm really unhappy in terms of if he was to like
Within the
abuse me or
relationship.
something.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Even
the
then,
extreme
I'd
case,
find
but
it hard to leave if I had children with him.
I think as long as the environment is a safe one for them,
Exactly.
I think you can still find a way to co-parent together, even if your relationship is not there. I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, we could chat all day.
I know.
I want to let you enjoy your Sunday.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank
Where
you for
can
having
people
me.
find you if they want to follow your message and follow you?
Right. So
And for my friend Henok.
Okay, so my Instagram and Twitter is Nazarin Veronica. Sorry, my nose is quite blocked. I've got hay fever.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
The
that's
juice didn't help.
no. So that's NAZARINVERONICA. And what else do I have? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really
They can
use
find out
much.
stuff on there.
Yeah, I think it's Instagram and Twitter mostly. So yeah, Nazarin Veronica.
Awesome. Well, guys, go show her some love. Go see the message she's got. She's got a lot of great things to say, a lot of important other things to say that maybe, you know, might open your mind. You can agree or disagree, but you should definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us your energy today. We
Thank
appreciate you. We love you. We'll definitely have you back on again at
Okay.
some point if you want to come. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and I will see you in the next video.
How?